Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling Podcast, the only wrestling podcast where one of us takes wrestling way too seriously.
And the other one is just here trying to figure out why every WWE parking lot is apparently more dangerous than Gotham's.
It was another absolutely crazy week in professional wrestling. We gave us Backlash. Raw somehow got even crazier after the weekend. And honestly, at this point, somebody needs to do a wellness check on the entire Judgment Day.
We're breaking down all of it tonight. The matches, the surprises, the promos, the backstage drama, and the moments that made wrestling Twitter completely lose its mind.
And then, after we survive the WWE insanity, we're heading over to All Elite Wrestling because AEW is sprinting straight towards Double or Nothing with absolute craziness in every show.
We'll be checking in on Collision, Fairway to Hell, AEW Dynamite, the big storylines, who's heating up at the right time, and which wrestler is one bad promo away from starting a blood feud, with literally every.
So grab your title belts, cancel your family plans, and prepare for at least one completely unnecessary wrestling rant.
Because this is the Mr. and Mrs. Podcast. Hold up. Before we start the show, we got to address something.
Yeah, the fact that you still don't own our merch.
Disrespectful, honestly. You listen every week. You yell at your phone when I'm right.
You mean when you think you're right?
Either way, you're not repping the brand. That's a problem.
Big problem, because the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling Podcast shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees, main event material.
Soft, comfortable, championship level drip.
Perfect for Raw, perfect for Dynamite, perfect for sitting on the couch judging creative decisions like you book the territory.
And let's be honest, when you walk into a show wearing our logo,
You're basically saying I've got elite taste.
who's your favorite wrestling podcast?
Who runs the hot takes?
Who brings the chaos every week?
Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling. So stop playing.
Search Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling on Pro Wrestling Tees.
Grab the shirt
Join the movement.
and look better than Mr. Wrestling while you're at it.
Okay, wow. We're ending strong.
We are ending strong in our merch. We're going to kick off the podcast with WWE Backlash. To start the show off, we had a singles match. Braun Breaker with Paul Heyman picks up the win against Seth Rollins in 21 minutes and 26 seconds. That's a really long match for WWE.
Yeah, they started off on ESPN2, getting more eyes on it, and I was wondering what type of match they would have, and they let these guys work. They gave them the time, and it was a little sloppy at times from Seth, but it got the job done and making Braun look stronger, more impactful, and there were moments of, a really good match there.
It was Braun that made it look sloppy. You thought it was Seth?
Yeah.
Wow, Seth Rollins doesn't really do sloppy.
No, I mean, you got to figure both these guys are also coming back from, a few months
Injuries.
off. So they haven't really been working. And I don't know how much ring time they're actually doing, but,
Yeah.
you know, it's easy to understand with it being the way it was.
Then we had the WWE United States title match. Trick Williams with Lil Yachty, or Mini Boat, as I like to call him, defeats Sami Zayn in 12 minutes and 56 seconds.
Yeah, I think this has been the perfect feud for Trick. He's going against a veteran that knows how to, work the crowd, either as a good guy or as a bad guy. And being able to feed off of Sammy and make him to be the bad guy has been really easy for Trick. Him and Yachty can make fun of Sammy, mock him, and the crowd eats it up. They love his entrance,
Yeah.
so they always start off hot for him. They're always chanting for him. Trick just has that natural charisma that comes through your TV each and every week. And he's been doing, really great things. They're getting him more time on the mic, which is helping him. So I expect him to continue, the upward trend. And I would very much like to see him and Carmelo Hayes reignite that rivalry that they had in NXT. And now that we're seeing Carmelo back on TV, hopefully we start to build towards that for SummerSlam.
Yeah. Then we had a tag team match. Danhausen and Minihausen defeat Kit Wilson and The Miz in 11 minutes and 38 seconds. Now, I'm a Fanhausen, but this was like a letdown in terms of his special person. It just felt like a WrestleMania repeat.
Yeah, we speculated who could it be? Would it be CM Punk, Obafemi? Could we get a celebrity person like a Jelly Roll or a Topanga? Someone from his history. All of those choices would have been great and would have made a lot of sense. But yeah, the Minihausen was a letdown. It was good once it got going. Minniehausen, the Masquerada Dorada from, Mexico, very entertaining. It was a very well done match. And I think they've been using Danhausen perfectly, having him be the entertainment portion, and the crowds are eating it up. They're loving it. His segments are getting him over and getting him exposure. He's on ESPN, he's on commercials. So I mean, it's working in that regard. The big letdown, like you said, was just the reveal of, who's his partner. And we got the same thing, like you said, on WrestleMania. But, I don't think TKO and WWE really care. It's all about, can they get Danhausen over that much more? And like Danhausen's always done, he's selling a ton of merch. Coming out of WrestleMania, he was the number 3 merch seller for WWE, so he's doing exactly what he should be doing and what you expect him to do.
Right.
The only thing they have to watch is overexposing him, having too much of the same thing over and over and over again.
Now is the perfect time to take a break.
Yeah, I would agree, having him off for a little bit. I don't know if they're gonna do that, but it makes sense. And you could also have Danhausen flip-flop between, being the lovable heel and the dastardly bad guy. You could have it go a couple different ways, but definitely a break and a little, separation from Kit Wilson and The Miz for a little bit would be refreshing and put him in a different spot.
Right. And also, I mean, the curse thing, you know what I mean? Like, it's funny. Everybody loves it right now.
Yeah.
But like you said, overexposure, like, take a pause.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like everything else that you've seen in the past with WWE, like The List from Chris Jericho,
Right.
Enzo and his shtick, it's working, so they're gonna ride it as long as they can.
I'm still riding that stick. Then we had a singles match, Io Sky and Asuka, 18 minutes and 7 seconds. Probably the match of the night for me, I would say. Is this it? Is this the end of Asuka?
It certainly seems like it. We'll talk about her appearance on Raw, which was, just another little mini farewell. But it's being reported that Asuka was going back to Japan, was taking some time off and stepping away. Not sure if that means her contract's up or not being renewed, or she's being let go of her contract, or if she is retiring. So time will tell with that. But this was a fantastic match. It was like a passing of the torch. Since Asuka's been in WWE, whether it was her massive undefeated streak in NXT to headlining every pay-per-view, winning every title, she's been on top. And I think Io's stepping into that role. So it's perfect. And they had a great match, which everybody fully expected them to have a great match because they're two professionals. Io's one of the best in the world. Asuka's been one of the best for a long time now.
Yeah,
And, if this is the end for Asuka, she goes out, definitely a WWE Hall of Famer.
absolutely.
And, even still, this was a fantastic match. Io can do every type of style. Her selling's great. And Asuka's, been the ultimate heel and a great baby face. So she could pop back up at any time
Yeah.
and, you know, fit right back in. But she has a lot of outside ventures that she's always done. So it's, that time.
Then we had the main event of the night, the WWE World Heavyweight title match. Roman Reigns picks up the win against Jacob Fatu in 17 minutes and 50 seconds. I'm already over this feud too. I mean, my attention span is much shorter, so
Yeah, this was a good match. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. It certainly seems like a lot of people are behind Jacob, and that's easy to see. He's fantastic in the ring. He's very believable. But what I don't get is the whole Tongan death grip thing.
yeah, it's weird.
You know,
Grabbing the Adam's apple.
yeah, I mean, it was a move made by Haku, but why not give it to Haku's sons? He's got two sons in WWE. They don't even use it, but Jacob uses it. And it's so feared and so deadly that Haku never won a world title with it,
Yeah.
you know? He won the US title, some tag team gold in WCW, WWF tag team title with Andre, but that was really about it. And he was always one of the toughest guys in the world, but, it is what it is. But, this was a really hard hitting match. Roman gave everything like we expected him to. And then the beatdown afterwards was pretty interesting. Right after Roman gets the win, within 30 seconds, Jacob's up again,
Whooping them.
beating him down. So, it'll be interesting. They're probably going to continue this and have one more match. So I could definitely see Jacob coming away with the title. I wouldn't recommend it. I think he's better either going against them or pairing with them, but I don't think it's time to give him the title. And I think it's time for either Roman and the Usos to bring someone else on board or for Jacob to, maybe get his own little clique going,
Yeah.
which could involve, maybe the debut of someone like a Zilla Fatu,
Yeah.
who has openly said, he's not interested in any company but WWE. His entire family's there,
Right.
which makes sense. Jacob and Zilla, two, black sheep of the family, the two wild cards, would pair very nicely together. If Tama Tonga makes the jump from solo, and him with Jacob would be a great addition too. You could even have those guys together and, maybe Solo comes back into the fold with the Usos and Roman and you
Yeah.
get the original bloodline back together. There's a bunch of different ways to go, but, I heavily expect the bloodline to be thoroughly involved in the main event picture and the title picture throughout the year going forward.
Yeah.
This was a solid pay-per-view PLE for WWE. Like we said, I think the best match was the Io and Asuka match.
Yep.
But yeah, it was definitely better than WrestleMania. They had way more wrestling on the show,
Less com-
less commercials for sure. So that was a move in the right direction. So we'll see if that continues with their next pay-per-view at the end of the month here at Clash in Italy. So we'll see how that goes, but definitely an improvement from WrestleMania.
Then we're moving on to Raw. We had a six-man tag team match. Joe Hendry and the Street Profits defeat Division in 12 minutes and 21 seconds. Now, is this where Seth Rollins gets involved and then like the Street Profits come for him because he pushed them out of the way or something
Yeah,
silly?
the Street Profits don't want help from Rollins because nobody trusts Rollins because Rollins has always been out for
The bad
himself.
guy.
Yeah, so he's essentially reaping what he sowed. So that makes sense there. It's nice that Joe Hendry's getting this push, and hopefully it leads to a one-on-one match with Logan Paul. And the Street Profits being right back in the tag title picture makes sense. And Montez Ford is great. He's awesome in the ring. His energy is off the charts. His charisma is fantastic. It's almost like I would like to see him have a solo run. I mean, it would be awesome to see. Even just throwing him in something like a Money in the Bank match would be fun. He's definitely, the most entertaining person, out of the tag team, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with Joe Hendry. He's reported this week that he's recorded a full music album with
Wow.
WWE, so we can expect to hear that sometime soon. But, it's good that Joe Hendry's getting this shine, and it's just a shame that it's a year too late because last year at this time,
It's way over.
he was so over, and they
Then
didn't do anything. TNA had him and, they had him in the main event picture a little bit, but, WWE should have acted on that right after WrestleMania and kept that momentum going. But we'll see where it goes.
Then we had a singles match. Javon Evans defeats Rusev in 12 minutes and 7 seconds. I'm like, why? Why Rusev? I don't understand why he's having so much time on TV lately.
He's someone that can lose. He's someone that can catch these little guys that are high flyers and gives people like Javon Evans and Penta a good base to
Right.
catch their flips and keep them safe and make them look good. But, other than that, Rusev is getting what Rusev is getting. And he didn't like the way Tony Khan booked him and had him set up. So now he's on WWE TV, pretty much losing every night.
Then we had a singles match. Io Sky picks up the win against Sol Ruka in 12 minutes and 27 seconds. Now, I was like, there's one part of it where Sol goes to do her finisher, the Soul Snatcher, and it was messy. And then she ends up losing anyways. I'm sure that they meant it to be that way, but I was like, what? And then Io's like, raising her hand, like, this is the next girl. And it was cool that she got that match.
Yeah, I mean, that's 2 weeks in a row. Soul has botched her finisher. and it hasn't looked as clean, and makes you wonder, are they doing that on purpose?
Right, you can't tell.
Yeah, I hope it is because I don't recall in NXT Soul botching that very often.
Yeah.
So it would make sense if it was a gimmick, but this was the perfect opportunity to have Soul do a big time match, and at least they're giving them some time. They're giving them 10 plus minutes, and she's getting to work with the top of the top. She's had matches with Liv, she's had a match with EO now, so let her put in her dues, and she's almost guaranteed to be in the Money in the Bank match.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, they're not gonna give up on Soul because she slips up a couple of times, but definitely something to keep an eye on moving forward.
Then we had a 2-on-1 handicap match. Obafemi defeats Los Garza in 52 seconds. Now, these guys didn't want to do it, right? He had to pick them up and carry them all the way down to the ring.
Yeah, so Los Garza came on and they're coming over from SmackDown. They wanted an opportunity, and this was the opportunity they were given against Oba. And they're just gonna continue to feed people to Oba.
Mhm.
Like I mentioned last week, I'm excited to see who's going to be the one that actually pushes Oba to his limit and
Yeah.
actually makes him have a big time match. It'll be interesting. And, Los Garza, it is what it is for them. I mean, they're not one of the top tag teams. They are better suited for AAA, but how often they're going to be booked down there is yet to be seen.
Yeah.
But Oba's going to keep having these squash matches. They're going to keep protecting him, making him look strong. But yeah, I'd like to see Oba actually go a few minutes and have a match. I
Make
thought,
sure not a Goldberg.
yeah, I mean, it certainly it feels like a Goldberg type push. So we'll see where it goes. But I expect Oba to be on the Clash show. They should at least give him some kind of a showcase, especially if they're going to continue this first hour on ESPN.
Then we had the AAA Mega Title match. Dominic Mysterio defeats El Grande Americano in 9 minutes and 4 seconds.
Yeah, this was the original El Grande, and
Yeah, because the ankle lock, once I saw it, because I, like, saw bits and pieces of this match, and once I caught the ankle lock, I was like, "Oh, it's Chad Gable."
yeah, we're a couple weeks away, so less than 2 weeks away from the mask versus mask match. But I had really high expectations for this. We haven't seen Dominic in the ring very much, this whole year. He won the title from Cena and he had the WrestleMania match, but not much else. He had the AAA match against Vikingo, but yeah, this just didn't click. I expected much higher things from these two because of how good Gable is and how good Mysterio is. It's just a shame that the El Grande Americano mask versus mask match isn't on like ESPN or WrestleMania and given that big stage that it should have because it's a fantastic program. There's a lot of heat between these two, and I fully expect their match here in 2 weeks to be fantastic. The show ended with, of course, Roman and Jacob. So Jacob went through, both of the Usos. He laid out Roman again, put him through a table. So definitely pushing towards that Clash match.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see if they make it a no DQ or a bloodline rules type match, but I would expect something and not just a regular one-on-one match because Jacob's been going crazy and going wild. So it'll be exciting to see. And if they keep giving these guys time, WWE can put on a good show. But if they get lazy and have these short matches, then you're going to hear more and more complaining.
Yeah, I just have to say we're watching GCW right now. It's on in the background, and these guys are having a death match, and they're using an electric cattle prod on each other
It was the world title match. Manders.
versus out Atticus Kogar.
Yeah, and I was under the firm belief that Manders was going to win this match, but it looks like the Kogar era continues. And, there's a lot of outside interference and,
A lot of
possible,
skewers.
yeah, a lot of skewers, but we'll see. We'll see who's going to be the one to actually dethrone Atticus Kogar.
Just like that, we're closing the book on Be for this week, at least until somebody cuts a shocking promo 5 minutes after we finish recording.
Backlash gave us chaos, Raw gave us drama, and somehow WWE continues to operate like a reality show where everyone settles workplace disagreements with steel chairs.
It's time to switch gears.
Because across the wrestling universe, AEW is loading up for Double or Nothing. Tensions are boiling over, alliances are falling apart, and honestly, somebody in AEW wakes up every Wednesday choosing violence.
So let's leave the WWE world behind for a minute and head over to All Elite Wrestling as we break down Collision, Fairway to Hell, and Dynamite. So, Fairway to Hell, that was a fun venue.
Yeah, it was the indoor golf venue that ESPN uses for their golfing simulator show. And yeah, it was awesome to see. They had the full golf course. They had the green, they had, the sand traps that came into play, but it was awesome to see.
So the first match was the AEW National Title match. Mark Davis picks up the win against Jack Perry in 14 minutes and 25 seconds. So title change, first match of the night. That's a huge win for Mark Davis.
Yeah. Mark Davis, who came from Aussie Open with Kyle Fletcher, huge in Japan, signed over and Fletcher broke out. And everybody thought, is this going to be, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, where, Fletcher is breaking out. He's having these, world class matches on every show. And Davis is just hurt time after time. And soon as Mark Davis got with the Don Callis family, got over his last injury, and they paired him up with, Doyle, who was the previous Jake something, everything clicked for Davis. Doyle got hurt in their big tag team title match, but that didn't stop Davis's momentum. And it peaked here with a huge title win, help from Ricochet on the outside with the golf club,
Yep.
and picks up the win. And now he is the national champion. So I would expect to see Davis defending it on Independence. He just recently defended it on Friday in Ring of Honor. So I would expect to see Davis all over TV, all over the world.
Yeah.
And he'll be at Double or Nothing in the Stadium Stampede match.
So exciting. Then we had an AEW Women's World Tag Team Title Eliminator match. The Double Ds pick up the win against Rachel Leigh and Ruthie Slay in 2 minutes and 17 seconds.
Yeah, they're doing a 5-minute match, gimmick where if anybody can last 5 minutes with Divine Dominion, then they'll get a World Tag Team title match.
Yeah.
And so far, nobody's lasted. It'll be interesting to see, where this goes, who this could be to, give them, some competition. But I'm a big fan of Lena Cross and Megan Bain. Cross has been working Independence, Ring of Honor, and Bain, we know her a lot from GCW.
Yep.
And Stardom. So, the stronger they can make these two look, the better off the division's going to be.
Yeah. And I like this pairing with Lena Cross better than Penelope Ford. I think it's a better pairing.
Yeah, they're both, two really tall women.
Posing.
Yeah, they look great. They work well together. Cross is the newer of the two as far as on American television. And I think they're great together. And, I've said it time and time again on previous shows, but I think Megan Bain is a future world champion. She can go with anybody. And her mic skills have gotten better. And I only expect them to get stronger and get better.
Then we had a singles match. Mike Bailey defeats Kieran Gray in 1 minute and 50 seconds.
Yeah, they're building up Speedball. His tag team partner is the TNT champion, and this coming Wednesday, it's going to be Speedball versus Darby Allin for the world title. So Speedball's getting a world title shot, and rightfully so. Speedball since December has been fantastic. Every match he's been in has been a great match, whether it's trios matches with Kevin Knight and Mystico, or with Hangman, or in singles matches. So I'm a big Speedball guy. He had a great match against Amazing Red recently at House of Glory, so I'd expect him and Darby to tear the house down.
Definitely. Speaking of Darby, we had the AEW World Title No Countout match. Darby Allin defeats Pac. I don't know why I have a hard time with it. Darby Allin defeats Pac in 20 minutes and 22 seconds. Now, this match was insane. They were in the sand traps. They were all over the place. Darby Allin fell through like 2 tables off of the top of something. Like, it was a crazy match. But what did you think about it?
Yeah, it was awesome. Just continuing this amazing run of Darby as world champion. And, this was exactly what I expected it to be. Pac is fantastic. He's one of the best in the world. And Darby, he's going to give 200% every time he's out there.
Absolutely.
I've said it countless times. He's this generation's Mick Foley. He's a
Mhm.
walking car crash. Every time he gets hurt, you see it on his face. You feel it through your TV, through your mobile device, whatever you're watching on.
Yes. You
And
worry for his life every week.
yeah, you always think this next stunt, this next move is going to be the end for Darby Allin, and he's like the Energizer Bunny. He just keeps going.
He does that DDP yoga.
Absolutely. But he took a pounding in this match, and this was a great showcase for Pac. And this is what Collision should be, having these big time matches. They don't need huge, drawn out cards.
No, just like,
A few matches and make the matches count.
yeah, I agree.
And having 2 title matches on this show, it was a great collision. Absolutely loved the opening match and the ending match, and it was fantastic. Every Darby title defense has been outstanding.
I think he's squeezing out every single drop of his reign. I think it's gonna be a short but, like, epic, like, history-making reign, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I mean, Brian Alvarez has, ranted and raved about his title reign, about how it's gonna go down in history,
oh, absolutely,
and
100%.
every match has been 4 or 5 stars at minimum.
Right.
And, he's just going to continue going out. And, the Double or Nothing is next Sunday. And he's having another, what's going to be hard hitting, huge match
Mhm.
with Speedball just a few days before that
Yeah.
match. So he's not going in fresh. And you notice throughout this whole time, you've only seen MJF wrestle one time.
Exactly. Well, he is like that classic heel, if this was his title reign, he would be just like Roman Reigns, not really in the picture. He's only there for big events. And MJF carries himself like a champion, a heel champion, 365 days a year.
Jim.
And that's like the persona he wants you to see is that he's too important to wrestle all the time, but he will wrestle.
Yeah, and Darby even said it in his one interview that, he's gambling every time. And that gives him that edge and that adrenaline rush that he's got to go all out each and every performance.
Exactly, because he could be losing the title. Then we are moving on to Dynamite. There was a 10-man tag team match. So Adam Copeland, Christian Cage, Orange Cassidy, and the Young Bucks defeat FTR, the Dogs, and Tommaso Ciampa. Now, I loved that Adam Copeland came out dressed like the Young Bucks. I just thought it was fantastic. And then we get Christian Cage, the asshole. It would be out of character if he were to dress like the Young Bucks, but
Would have been sweet if he would have had a neon turtleneck on.
yeah, or just like an accent
Yeah.
of neon somewhere, but that's not who his character is.
Yeah, this was fun for what it was. It was a, 10-man tag. Like I mentioned, last week, this is what they should have done last week to really get it over, but here we are and it's building. The Dogs are going to be in the Stadium Stampede, the Bucks are going to be in the Stadium Stampede, and Copeland and Cage are battling FTR. So it'll be interesting to see if they have anything for Orange Cassidy and the conglomeration for Double or Nothing as the trios titles holders, but this was a solid match.
Then we had a singles match. Mike Bailey with Kevin Knight defeats Westbrook in 1 minute and 18 seconds. Who's Westbrook, a jobber?
Yeah, and there was this one spot in this match where Westbrook was going to the outside of the ring and coming back in, and he just couldn't get out of the ropes. It was like the ropes were eating him alive.
Uh,
And he got all tangled up. And as soon as he got in the ring, Speedball just kicked him in the face and they went home.
yeah.
Speedball finished him off and got Westbrook out of there sooner rather than later. So bad look for him on that regard. But right afterwards is where Speedball issued the challenge for the winner of the main event on this episode of Dynamite. And next week, he's going to get that world title shot.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great. Speedball goes all out, and he's been doing great stuff.
Then we had an then we had an AEW TNT title match. Kevin Knight with Mike Bailey defeats Brian Cage with Lance Archer in 10 minutes and 48 seconds. It's been a minute since we saw Brian Cage, but he's looking good with all that hair. He looks like a wild animal.
Yeah, 14 months since he last wrestled, and he's just coming back from injury. He's been working some independent attendance and, for being out for 14 months and coming back and this being one of your first few matches back, could have been a lot worse. There was one spot where Kevin Knight was going for a top rope Hurricane Rana and he slipped, but Brian Cage just grabbed him by his lower legs and lifted him back up from sitting on the top rope.
Yeah.
And it just showed how imposing and how strong Brian Cage is. And I hope they continue to book him and use him, whether it's on Collision or Ring of Honor. But the more we can see Brian Cage, the more of an asset he is because he is a really good wrestler.
Yeah.
Former TNA World Champion. He did some great stuff in PWG and he was great in Lucha Underground.
Yeah.
So, hopefully he can stay healthy and they book him more often than not.
Then we had a singles match. Will Ospreay defeats Ace Austin in 15 minutes and 37 seconds. I loved this match. I thought it was a really good match. Felt longer than that to me, but it was a really good match.
Yeah, it was awesome. Ace Austin has been really standing out each and every week that he gets showcased.
Yeah, he's doing awesome. I'm really happy for him.
Yeah, he's an accomplished wrestler and he can do anything in the ring. He can blend with any style. And there is one point in the match where Ace Austin got hit with a hidden blade from Will Ospreay and it like smashed him right in the face.
Yeah.
It was awesome. If you're following us on X, I try to do live tweeting on most shows, and that move just stood out to me. Afterwards, after the win, Osprey got confronted by the Ops because Samoa Joe tried to recruit Osprey to the Ops, but he's working with the Death Riders, and that led to at Double or Nothing, we're gonna get Osprey versus Samoa Joe.
So excited. I love Samoa Joe.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great match. I think their first time actually competing one on one.
Yeah.
So it should be a great pairing and look like Bowens and Shibata were going to attack Osprey, but out come the Death Riders
Yeah.
to have his back. So it's interesting to see where that's going to go. It wouldn't shock me if Osprey wins the Owen and then has to get through Moxley as like the final boss before he can get to his
Yeah.
world title match. And he has to overcome that hill that is John Moxley, who, essentially is like the gatekeeper of the AEW world title. Even when he's not champion, to get to the title, you gotta go through
We'll
him.
get through him, yeah.
And on Wednesday night's Dynamite, we're gonna get to see Osprey versus Shibata. So
That's awesome.
that'll be a huge matchup. And, with Will Osprey, you just want to see him healthy going into these big shows.
Then we had a six-man tag team match. Hikaru Shida and the Brawling Birds defeat the Triangle of Madness by DQ in 10 minutes. So no title switches hands in this case because it's DQ.
Yeah, the only champion in this match is
Oh, it's Tekla. Duh.
yeah, she's the women's champion. And, Sheeta and Jamie Hayter, they're going to be in the four-way along with Chris Statlander at Double or Nothing taking on Tekla.
Yeah.
So just setting the stage for that. And it ended in a DQ when Julia brought a kendo stick in and attacked Windsor and Hayter. And Sheeta wanted no part of it. She just let the birds get attacked and
She ran out of there.
wiped her hands and walked up the rampway. So it'll be interesting to see. Sheeta continues to look like she's going more and more to a bad guy. So we'll see. But I really love the Triangle of Madness. Tekla has been awesome as champion, and I don't expect her to lose the title anytime soon. I'm hoping that she at least holds the title through Double or Nothing. I would really like to see Tekla versus like a Saya Kamatani or a
Yeah.
Starlight Kid or maybe even a Persephone. So we'll see what happens, but it was a decent match for what it was.
Then we had the AEW World Title match, another epic match. Darby Allin defeats Konosuke Takeshita in 15 minutes and 29 seconds. What a run of matches for Darby. I mean, we had Darby versus Ciampa, Darby versus Brody, Darby versus Kevin Knight, Darby versus Pac, and now Takeshita. That's a huge run for him.
Yeah, and it's every week, twice a week. And this match, I loved it. Takeshita's like the perfect person for Darby because he can throw him around. And, this was great. This was supposed to be Okada, but Okada had family emergencies to deal with. So, Takeshita's the perfect replacement for him. And to be able to go in there and have this kind of match, and even in a losing effort, it doesn't sour Takeshita at all.
No.
because of how great of a match it was. I mean, the Blue Thunder Bomb that Takeshita did to Allen, from the apron to the floor, just the thud of Darby hitting the floor. It was awful. Awful and awesome at the same time. But yeah, I really hope AEW does like a YouTube video where it's just all of Darby's world title matches, one
Yeah.
after another. Would be a great watch because each one has been spectacular. That bloodbath with Champa is up there for match of the year, and I really enjoyed the Takeshita match. And now he's got, Mike Bailey next week. If it was like another week or two, I would have loved to have seen, it wouldn't have been a long match, but it could have been a fun match. Darby, and just imagine the next person to challenge Darby if it was Paul White.
Yeah.
Here comes Paul White, formerly the Big Show. That would be something fun because he could just throw Darby around and just, make Darby really work at it. And it would be something fun, but also short. So that would be more sports entertainment. It would be a fun sports entertainment, something to think about. Maybe another run or something down the line to be interesting. But, you can't say enough good things about the Darby title run, and we've got at least 2 more matches
Yeah.
potentially. So he's got Speedball on Wednesday, and then Sunday is the big pay-per-view
Yeah.
that we're going to be in Queens,
Yep.
live on the scene. So we'll be, live tweeting throughout the show, and we'll also be doing potentially a, after show in Queens late Sunday night.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be an awesome night. It's super fun. Look out for our tweets. You can follow us at and pod on Twitter, specifically for those live tweets. Steve does it every week. I pop in occasionally. It's going to be a fun weekend. That's going to do it for this week's episode of the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast.
We covered WWE Chaos, AEW Insanity, questionable referee decisions, and at least 3 wrestlers who desperately need therapy. And somehow, we still barely scratched the surface of everything happening in wrestling right now.
As always, thank you guys for hanging out with us, listening, supporting the show, and being a part of this ridiculous wrestling community with us every single week.
Make sure you follow us on social media so you never miss an episode, a rant, or one of our completely unnecessary wrestling debates.
Drop your predictions, your hot takes, and let us know what you thought was the biggest moment of the week in WWE and AEW.
Remember, in wrestling, anything can happen. Surprise returns, heel turns, broken announce tables.
Apparently, nobody's job is safe if there's a dramatic entrance music playing.
We'll catch you guys next time on the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast. Okay, serious question. How do people let everyone know they're listening to the hottest wrestling podcast in the game?
That's easy. They stop yelling it at strangers in Target and they go to Pro Wrestling Tees.
Boom. See? Growth, maturity, merch?
That's right. The official Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast shirts are live. Fresh designs, soft tees, drip approved.
Perfect for WrestleMania watch parties.
Perfect for AEW, WWE, TNA, and even New Japan Pro Wrestling pay-per-views.
Perfect for when you're cutting a promo in your living room.
Or when you're reminding your spouse you were right about that heel turn.
I was right.
Debatable.
What's not debatable? You need this shirt.
Head over to Pro Wrestling Tees and grab yours now.
Support the podcast.
Rep the brand
and join the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling family.